What are geometric forms used for in photography and how are they utilized? This type of photography focuses on the world's geometric forms, lines, and patterns. When it comes to architectural photography, geometric pictures are common, but the subject matter can range from sprawling cityscapes to patterns in the natural world. Nature's rules are based on the principle of symmetry. When an image has a symmetrical arrangement, it's peaceful and pleasing for the eye. However, symmetry doesn't need a photo to be cut in half horizontally or vertically. With a well-balanced picture, you may get the same, and in some cases, better results. Check out the symmetry in the world around you on your next vacation. Uneven photographs might appear unbalanced to the eye of the spectator. Your visuals should be uneven if your objective is to make your visitors feel out of whack. A lot of the time you will find yourself needing or wanting to do this. You must, however, ensure that the composition is balanced in order to provide a nice and peaceful effect. It's possible to adjust for item size and population by using brightness, texture, color, closeness to the camera or each other, location, and other features that work to lend greater visual weight to some things over others. To give an item visual weight, it might be placed higher in the frame, away from the center, or by highlighting its texture, contrast, or color. The apparent weight of isolated items can also be increased. Objects on the right side of the frame also tend to have a greater impact on the viewer's eye. To assist you in achieving a sense of equilibrium in your photographs, the following factors should be taken into account. You can see from these 8 components of balance that you should pay attention to how your photographs are put together using the balance composition methods. Art, movies, interior design, and architecture all include these characteristics. Balanced photographs are meant to show that all of the components in the shot are equal in importance. It's possible to create a lovely and exciting image by using an even composition, but it isn't always possible. An image that is visually balanced or imbalanced may be used to convey a certain message. Therefore, photographers have the option of making the scene balanced or unbalanced. A scene's equilibrium is determined by the quantity and size of items in it. If there are several huge things on one side of painting or image and only a few little ones on the other, the work may appear imbalanced to the spectator. In order to achieve a pleasing visual balance, it's best to place similar sized and number objects on opposite sides of the frame. It is possible to adjust for item size and population by using brightness, texture, color, closeness to the camera or each other, location, other features that work to lend greater visual weight to some things over others. To give an item visual weight, it might be placed higher in the frame, away from the center, or by highlighting its texture, contrast, or color. The apparent weight of isolated items can also be increased. Objects on the right side of the frame also tend to have a greater impact on the viewer's eye. The farthest element of a scene or picture from the observer is referred to as the background. It is the scene behind the main character in a painting, picture, or other medium, anything enclosing or surrounding something, such as a printed design, for example. Drawing and painting are the origins of the concept of figure to ground. It is the foundation of visual grammar. On a piece of paper, how can you perceive the form of an object? Black lines on white paper make it easy to see. If you think about it, it's very apparent. Figure to ground is the name given to this type of arrangement. Everything would be completely obliterated if we use white ink on white paper. Renaissance era painters used a dark and melancholy food photography technique. By emphasizing the contrast between light and dark, the technique known as chiaroscuro works. If you want to make your food photo stand out, you must use lighting techniques that emphasize the contrast between light and dark. When generating gloomy and dark food photography, It's vital to keep the images from being too dark. Images that have been stripped of their contrast and detail will be dull and lifeless, unable to arouse interest. Instead, you want to use light in a planned and controlled manner in your composition. Drawing and painting are the origins of the concept of the figure to ground. Photographs fall under the same category. We need to be able to distinguish the item from the backdrop in order to read your photos. For generations, artists have experimented with the idea of bringing the figure to the ground as an intentional yet subtle method in their work. Lines, circles, spheres, and triangles. With geometry, we can map nearly every feature in our environment. For photography, geometric imagery emphasizes the use of dramatic forms, lines, and patterns in order to create visual interest. Architectural photography is a frequent source of geometric photography inspiration. Flat forms with width and height but no depth are referred as two-dimensional shapes. 2D geometric forms include squares, triangles, and rectangles and are a typical part of our environment. Make sure to keep in mind that these forms are all flat figures with no depth, meaning you can still make out the shape of these objects by taking a picture of them. Three-dimensional forms are an exception to this rule. Three-dimensional forms have a width, height, and depth, unlike two-dimensional ones. Pyramids, spheres, and cubes are all examples of 3D forms. The simplest patterns to shoot are those that are already present in foods in their natural state. Consider the texture of biscuits, the pits of grapefruit, or the rough landscapes of deep-fried butter. As with a line of soldiers marching in formation, certain patterns are comprised of discrete pieces that have taken together and have their same overall appearance. Bricks, for example, are arranged in a wall in such a manner that they all appear the same and are positioned in the same way. But if you look at each brick separately, you will see a variety of variances. A similar effect may be achieved by shooting mass-produced goods light out geometrically, such as chocolates and cookies. An almost mathematical effect will be created by this method. In photography, what are the patterns and repetitions? When it comes to photographic composition, repetition is like a song's beat. An image's attention is drawn to a photograph because of patterns formed by repeated use of an object, color, or element. There is a pattern formed by the repeating of similar patterns, despite the fact that no two shapes are precisely the same. In order to see the contrast better, squint your eyes a bit. The bulk of what you see will be obscured if you gaze at anything with your eyes almost closed. As the contrast between the two hues increases, it becomes easier to tell them apart. This method produces a gray blur if you apply it on a shot with little or no contrast. The camera's display should be set to black and white. To observe how the scene would seem without the use of color, try viewing in monochrome. Using your camera's exposure meter may help you achieve more precise results. It is necessary to use the spot metering mode. One exposure reading from your subject matter is provided for you here. Then there is the one lurking in the shadows. You should aim for at least a 2-stop difference between your subject and the background in your shot.